The debate was sparked following the latest Prime Minister's questions session in the British Parliament. During that sitting, Sarah Pochin, recently elected as a representative for the Reform UK party, introduced an issue that quickly captured both public and political attention. Her intervention raised a question as direct as it was sensitive. Should the United Kingdom, or more specifically, Prime Minister Karmama, support legislation to ban the wearing of the burqa in public spaces? The May suggestion of this proposal triggered an immediate wave of reactions, particularly from progressive circles and advocates of individual liberties. For many, it was perceived as a direct attack on religious freedom and women's autonomy. However, for others, the initiative opened up a legitimate, and arguably necessary, debate concerning national security, cultural integration, and the principles of social cohesion in a pluralistic society. It's essential to frame this discussion in the wider European context. Several countries across the continent have already implemented similar restrictions. France was among the first to ban full-face veils in public spaces, followed by Belgium, Norway, the Netherlands, Austria, and even countries outside Europe, such as Cameroon, Chad, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. This suggests that, if the UK were to pursue a similar course of action, it would not be without precedent. In light of this, a televised debate program was organized to explore the issue in greater depth. Participants included political analysts, public figures, and ordinary citizens. One panelist in particular stood out for his firm rebuttal of the arguments made against a potential ban. From the outset, the program maintained a comprehensive and balanced tone, in keeping with the standards of this kind of public discourse. Before we go any further, a quick reminder. If you're enjoying this content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more analysis on current affairs in the UK. At the heart of the controversy lies the question of whether the UK should follow in the footsteps of nations that have already restricted this type of clothing for reasons ranging from public safety to social unity. During the program, members of the live audience were invited to share their views. One of the first interventions referenced the recent resignation of Zia Youssef as leader of Reform UK. According to multiple sources, his departure was prompted by internal disagreements tied to the burqa issue. This development reignited debate over whether Sarah Pochin had done the right thing in proposing a ban. A majority of the studio audience responded positively, expressing support for her stance. One of the analysts argued that banning the burqa should not be seen as an extreme or reactionary measure, but rather one based on well-reasoned foundations. Firstly, he pointed out that the UK already enforces a wide range of laws regulating public behavior, and that introducing another, provided it has sound justification, would be consistent with the country's legislative tradition. Secondly, he contended that the burqa contributes to the objectification of women by suggesting that they must conceal themselves in order not to be perceived as sexual objects. This, he added, perpetuates a negative stereotype of men as lacking self-control. He further highlighted the inherent inequality in a practice that applies only to women, with no equivalent obligation for men within the same religious framework. He also voiced concern about minors being compelled to wear such garments, arguing that the choice is not always made freely, but often under pressure from family or community. In his view, the burqa acts as both a physical and symbolic barrier, obstructing integration and weakening the sense of shared belonging. At this point, he introduced a provocative observation. Many opponents of a ban appeal to liberal principles and individual freedom. Yet, he questioned how consistently those principles are applied when the topic shifts to more controversial expressions, such as burning the Quran or publishing caricatures of religious figures, especially those depicting the Prophet Muhammad. Another panelist offered a similarly forthright analysis. She expressed frustration that the rhetoric of liberty and tolerance is often used to defend practices that, in her opinion, contradict the foundational values of democratic and open societies. Equating the burqa with items like medical masks or protective helmets, she said, was a flawed comparison. While masks serve a health-related purpose and helmets provide safety, the burqa carries a far deeper symbolic, cultural, and political weight. Although she admitted that a blanket ban on the streets would be difficult to implement and enforce, she firmly supported prohibiting such garments in public institutions, such as schools, courts, libraries, and government buildings. She also insisted that showing one's face is a basic expectation in British culture, a means of establishing trust, communicating effectively, and participating openly in society. While she sympathized with women who are forced to wear the burqa, her greater concern was for those who choose to do so voluntarily in a country where they are, in theory, free to choose otherwise. In her view, this choice erects an unnecessary wall between the individual and society, impeding recognition, accountability, and everyday interaction. A third contributor reinforced this perspective, clarifying that the focus should not be on headscarves or turbans, but specifically on full face coverings that conceal identity. He cited Denmark as an example, where since 2018 a law has been in place banning all garments that obscure the face in public. According to him, this legislation is enforced through financial penalties and has been applied effectively without major incidents. This led to a new angle in the conversation, the growing trend among young people in the UK to wear balaclavas. This phenomenon was linked to growing concerns over public safety, particularly in urban areas where police resources are stretched. As a result, some panelists suggested that non-religious face coverings, such as balaclavas, should also be subject to regulation, especially when used to conceal identity or intimidate others. Barry, another member of the panel, brought a slightly different but complementary view. He reaffirmed the importance of individual autonomy, saying that, as a man, he did not feel entitled to tell women how they should dress. However, he added that if a burqa ban were to be introduced, it should be grounded in clear and objective criteria, most notably, public security risks. He pointed to Morocco as an example where the restriction was justified on precisely those grounds. He also agreed that garments like balaclavas could be used to hinder identification during criminal activity, and as such, supported the idea of penalties similar to those used in other European countries. At the same time, he noted an important cultural distinction. British society has never objected to traditional religious garments like the nun's habit, which raises a different symbolic issue when compared to full-face veils tied to non-Western religious practices. As the program progressed, a concrete example was raised to illustrate security concerns. The case involved a Somali man, allegedly affiliated with the extremist group Al-Shabaab, who managed to escape authorities by entering a mosque without a burqa and leaving disguised in one. This real-life incident was cited as evidence of how such garments can be misused to evade law enforcement. In the final part of the debate, attention turned to the political consequences of Zia Youssef's resignation. One audience member asked whether he might have remained in post had Sarah Poching used the phrase face coverings instead of specifically mentioning the burqa. It was speculated that the issue may have had more to do with how the topic was framed than with the substance of the proposal itself. Some audience members expressed regret at his departure, describing him as a competent, hard-working leader with a clear commitment to the party's development. Others acknowledged his contribution but believed Reform UK would carry on without him, though they admitted the incident could have reputational consequences, particularly during an election campaign. The debate ended with a broader reflection on the potential societal impact of enforcing such a controversial measure. It was suggested that a nationwide ban on the burqa could provoke unrest in certain communities, raising deeper questions about the current state of integration and multicultural coexistence in the UK. In conclusion, a wide range of perspectives were shared, and the discussion made it clear that this is a complex issue, one with legal, cultural, religious, and political dimensions. Both the panelists and the audience brought forward thoughtful and emotional contributions. But what do you think? Should the UK take steps towards banning the burqa in public spaces? As always, we invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and join us next time for another in-depth analysis. See you soon.